Ladies who married, they're just a friend. What was the moment that changed everything? My best friend Caleb and I met during our sophomore year working the worst job on campus, the campus convenience store night shift. We'd spend hours complaining about drunk students buying energy drinks at 2 a.m., sharing stale donuts from the employee break room, and making up ridiculous backstories for our regular customers. He was the guy who'd cover my shifts when I had exams, who'd drive me home in his beat-up Honda when my car inevitably broke down, and who somehow made holding lottery tickets and restocking energy bars actually fun. We graduated, moved to different cities for work, but stayed close. Daily texts, weekend calls, visits every few months. 5 years later, I'm living 3 hours away working as a graphic designer, and Caleb is doing accounting in his college town. We're still those same friends who text each other memes at inappropriate hours and complain about our respective dating disasters. Last April, I decided to surprise him for his 27th birthday. I knew he'd been stressed about his new job, working crazy hours and barely sleeping. So I loaded up my car with his favorite snickerdoodle cookies that I'd spent all morning baking, grabbed a bag of the cheesiest horror movies I could find at the gas station, and drove the 4 hours to his place. When I pulled up to his apartment complex, his neighbor, Mrs. Davis, was outside watering her plants. She recognized me from previous visits. "Oh, sweetie, you here for Caleb? He's been at the hospital since yesterday morning. That poor boy hasn't left." My stomach dropped. I immediately called him, hands shaking as I dialed. "Caleb, what happened? Are you okay?" Mrs. Davis said. "I'm fine," he interrupted, his voice exhausted. "It's Mrs. Lee from 4B. She fell down her stairs 2 days ago, broke her hip, has a concussion. I found her when I was coming home from work." "Okay, but why are you still there?" There was a pause. "She doesn't have any family, no kids. Her husband died years ago. The nurses said she keeps asking for someone to stay with her because she's scared and confused from the head injury. I couldn't just leave her alone." I drove straight to Mercy General. When I found him in the ICU waiting area, he looked like he hadn't slept in days, still wearing his button-down shirt from work, hair sticking up, stubble covering his usually clean-shaven face. He was holding a small notebook, writing something down. "What's that?" I asked, sitting next to him. "I'm keeping track of her medication times and writing down things she tells me when she's lucid, so I can repeat them back when she gets confused again. She keeps forgetting that her cat is okay. I've been feeding Mr. Whiskers and she worries about him." This man who worked 50-hour weeks, who was always exhausted, who barely had time for himself, had spent 2 full days caring for an 80-year-old woman he barely knew just because she needed someone. I stayed with him. We took shifts, sitting with Mrs. Lee, holding her hand when she got scared, bringing her ice chips when her mouth was dry, and celebrating small victories when she remembered our names or ate a full meal. On day 3, while Caleb was in the cafeteria getting coffee, Mrs. Lee grabbed my hand with surprising strength. Her eyes were clearer than they'd been since I arrived. "That young man loves you something fierce," she whispered, her voice hoarse but certain. "Spent the last 2 days telling me stories about his friend Tessa, who makes the best cookies and always knows how to make him laugh when work gets bad. The way his whole face lights up when he talks about you. That's love, sweetheart." I looked across the room at Caleb, who was walking back with 2 terrible hospital coffees and a pack of crackers he'd probably grabbed from a vending machine. His shirt was wrinkled, his hair was a mess, and he looked completely exhausted, but he was smiling because Mrs. Lee was awake and alert. This was the same guy who used to let me eat his lunch in college when I forgot mine, who drove 6 hours to help me move apartments last year, who remembered that I hate strawberry ice cream and always bought me chocolate chip instead. But seeing him here, giving up his birthday weekend, his sleep, his comfort, for someone who couldn't give him anything in return, that's when it hit me like a freight train. I wasn't just looking at my best friend anymore. I was looking at the kind of man who would take care of people simply because it was the right thing to do. The kind of man I wanted to spend my life with. Mrs. Lee recovered fully and still sends us Christmas cards. Caleb and I got married 8 months later.